Okay, this is a
Recording in
mimer
progress.
from Shabbos Parshas Vayishlach Yudal Kislev Tavshin Mem Ches, which the Rebbe always called Shnas Tismach, the year of rejoicing, and similar to what it says in the brachas of Sheva brachas, Samach Tisamach, Reim Ha'ahuvim, you will doubly rejoice the beloved friends, and that is what the topic is going to be. It's going to be about the brachas of the chasana, the Sheva brachas that we say, brachas of joy, and it's based on a mimer that the Frierdiker Rebbe said. Amongst the many mamorim he said at the chasana the Rebbe, this is also has a topic of Asher bara sasam v'simcha. Asher, so we say in the nusach of Sheva brachas, we say Asher bara sasam v'simcha. We are giving thanks and praise to the one who created joy and happiness, chasam וכלה, a groom and a bride. Gila, ritna, ditza. Gila is another type of joy. Rina is song. Ditza is a type of joy again. V'chedva, and love. Ava, v'achva, another type of, I said chedva is joy, not love. Ava, v'achva, love and brotherhood. Shalom, v'reus, peace and friendship. Daik bezakvik du just might have had more. But Maimer Yudal Kislev, Shenam be Yudal Kislev, Kumesh Kosby Sarsa Maimer, and my father-in-law examines this phrasing in a Maimer the 14th of Kislev that he said on 14th of Kislev, like it says in the title of the Maimer, Lefnei Nun Tes Shana, he said it 59 years ago. In other words, the Rebbe's Chasna was 59 years before Shnas Tavshin Mem Ches, because the Rebbe's wedding was in 1928 and 28 Tafresh Peites. The Tzarech Lahavin. So he asks as follows: Lama Magdim Sasam v'Simcha l'Chasam וכלה. Why does he preface and say joy and happiness before he says Chasam וכלה? We need to seemingly work our way to the reasons for the joy. The reasons for the joy is the chassan v'kala. V'ali kol ikar asasim v'simcha in b'shvil chassan v'kala. The primary reason of the joy and the happiness are for the sake of the chassan and kala. Like it says at the conclusion of the bracha, the one who makes rejoice the chassan with the kala. Like the nusach of another bracha that we say under the chuppah, one of the 7 brachas that we say, that says over there, it says Mesamech Chasan ima kala, it says Mesamech Chasan Vikala, the one who makes rejoice the chasan with the kala, but instead of an im, it says a vav. But the main point is that the whole simcha is for the sake of the chasan and kala. So if it's for the sake of the chasan and kala, they are the main thing. So they should be the opening thing. It should say Asher bara chasan v'kala, the one who created the chasan and kala, and then it should go on to say sasin v'simcha gila rina ditza v'chedva av v'achva shalom v'reis. Why does it begin sasin v'simcha? Then it switches to the main people in the event over here, the chasan and kala, and then it goes on with different types of expression of joy. The Frierdiker Rebbe explains concerning this, the fact that he prefaces Sasam v'Simcha, the Chasan and Kalam, u'mishum sha'sasan v'Simcha, u'machmas etzem zeh shemiskabtzim harbe anoshim Yisrael biyachad. The Sasan and Simcha, the Frierdiker Rebbe is saying, this happiness and joy is not a result that the chassan and kala are making us joyous. Even prior to the chassan and kala's appearance, the very fact that you have many Yidden getting together, that is itself a reason for joy. Multiplied is the fact, or befrat especially, when Yidden get together, when Yidden get together to be involved in matters of Torah and in matters of fulfilling mitzvahs, or to do good resolutions to strengthen oneself in the fulfillment of Torah mitzvahs. So why do you have to get together to do so? So the Rebbe says, in such a manner, the Ishas re'eyu yazoiru lo achiv yemechazak. Like the Pasuk used the expression that a man assists his fellow, and to his brother he says to be strong. In other words, when Yidden get together to make a resolution and to decide on Torah mitzvahs, that itself strengthens the commitment and the power of the hachlotas tovos, of the power of the good resolutions, in such a manner that how are they getting together? The ava va'achva v'shalom v'reis, in the way of love and brotherhood and peace and friendship. Ba'ifin the achdus Yisrael, in the way of Yidden being in a way of unity and oneness. We could have Yidden get together, and then even when they're getting together for the sake of Torah mitzvahs, there can sometimes be lacking that brotherhood. So the Rebbe says, Yidden are getting together. That itself is a reis simcha. When they're getting together for Torah mitzvahs, or to make good resolutions in Torah mitzvahs, and this itself is done in a manner of brotherhood and love, so then, that itself, that gathering itself causes the joy and happiness of the highest form. That's why the Shasson and Simcha say on its own, not as a continuation of Chassidus and וכלה, because the Shasson of Simcha has its own value for the Yidden getting together. And the Rebbe says we could add to this. This is especially so in the year of Hakel, the Hakel Sa'am, in the way of gathering the nation. The year Tafshin Memches, end of 1987, throughout the year of 1988, was a year of Hakel. So therefore, it's even more the idea of unity. Through this great advantage of oneness amongst Yidden, we affect joy and happiness also in the Chassidus and Kala, until we affect joy and happiness in the supernal Chassidus and Kala. So instead of the Chassidus and Kala being the cause of the joy, the Chassidus and Kala are the recipients of the joy. Just the very fact you didn't get together for the sake of Torah mitzvahs, etc., in a way of love. So that is creating joy that they are now able to share and extend to the Chassidus and Kala. And not just does it extend to a physical Chassidus and Kala, but the primordial Chassidus and Kala, the supernal Chassidus and Kala. Who is the Chassidus and Kala of the entire Seder Ishtalshlus? That is Hashem and the Yidden. So when Yidden get together for the sake of Torah mitzvahs, for the sake of making good resolutions in the way of love and brotherhood, so this adds joy to Hashem and Knesset Yisrael in general. Yesh loymar, we could say, Shezeu gam atam l'minig Yisrael, Shachosn v'kala marben b'divrei Torah b'tzedakah b'yemachupah. It says that this is also the reason for the custom amongst Yidden, that Chassidus and Kala increase in words of Torah, and tzedakah in the day of the chuppah, the Chassidus recites a maimer. The Kala is reciting Tehillim, that's Torah. Then also the Rebbe always encouraged and spoke about the importance of adding in tzedakah at the day of the chuppah, and this is actually something that's brought down in the Shulchan Aruch. But the Rebbe very much emphasized that the Chassidus and Kala should increase in tzedakah in the time of the day of the chuppah. And also they increase in matters of davening. Obviously, again, the Kala is saying Tillim all day, and the Chassidus is, he says the long mincha with al chet and so on, etc. Including also the primary, and the most important and core tefillah that's in this bracha, Asher bara Shasson v'simcha, it says over there, Meheir Hashem Elokeinu Yishama Bar Yehuda, speedily Hashem should make it be heard in the cities of Yehuda, B'chutzas Yerushalayim, and the outskirts of Yerushalayim, Kol Sosim, Kol Simcha, the sound of rejoicing, the sound of happiness, Kol Chosim, Kol Kala, the sound of the Chosim and the sound of the Kala. That is the content of the great quality of the coming together in the happiness and the rejoicing of Chassidus and Kala. Then we're all gathering together for the sake of Torah and its mitzvahs. Begimel Amudim, the Torah Avodah Tzedakah, the three pillars of Torah Avodah and Tzedakah. Now, the Rebbe is saying like this. We said before that the joy is a result of gathering together for the sake of Torah mitzvahs. So therefore they can extend that joy and bring that joy to the Chassidus and Kala. Therefore, when the Chassidus and Kala are involved in, like we said, Torah, Tzedakah, davening, which is the Torah, Avodah, and Gimel Chasadim, the three pillars. So this is an extension and a connection with that coming together of Yidden for a joyous occasion for Torah mitzvahs. This coming together, this joining, this meeting of all Yidden together is in the rejoicing of a Chassidus and Kala. Yes, that there's a special advantage in it. Like it's explained in the Maimer that was said in that very day of the 14th of Kislev, is a few hours later. As I mentioned, the Frierdiker Rebbe said multiple Mamorim during the Chasana and then the Shabbos before and the Shabbos after. So in later on in that evening, the Frierdiker Rebbe said a Maimer on the what the Gemara says, whoever derives benefit from a chasna meal, and he makes the chasna kala rejoice, he merits the Torah that was given with 5 sounds, like it says there was kol shofar, there was a sound of the shofar, and there was the sound of the thunder and lightning, etc. It's 5 times it's mentioned koil by Matan Torah, and in the bracha that we just now quoted, there's also 5 times koil. Mishum gam b'chosin namrucha misha koil. It's also by chosin. It says in the pasuk in Yirmiyahu Hanavi where it comes from. The original phrase comes from Yirmiyahu Hanavi that it says koil sasim, koil simcha, koil chosim, koil kala. The sound of rejoicing, the sound of happiness, the sound of a chosin, the sound of a kala, goimer, etc. So there's another koil mitzal chasanim chupason. So there's a 5 times it says koil. So as we know that in Torah everything is exact, and the fact that by Matan Torah it says 5 times the word koil, sound, and by Chassidus and Kala it says 5 times koil and sound. So from this we understand the Chazal derive that someone who makes a Chassidus rejoice and participates in the Chassidus meal, so then he merits the Torah that was given with 5 koils, with 5 sounds. So therefore, we can see the specialness of the get together of a chasana. It's not just Yidden are getting together, which that itself is a happy occasion. It's not just Yidden are getting together for the doing of Torah mitzvahs. It's not just they're getting together around the Chassidus and Kala, they're adding in their Torah avodah gimel chasadim, but they're getting together in the special, unique opportunity of making a Chassidus and Kala rejoice. Move on. That from this is understood this coming together by a wedding, this gathering by a wedding, Yeshba Mailim Yuchedes has in it a distinct advantage. Therefore, it has the capability to affect not just the Chassidus and Kala down here, but also in the spiritual Chassidus and Kala. HaKadosh Baruch Hu v'Knesset Yisrael Hashem and the Jewish people that they should have an increase in joy over what they would have had on their own, because of this great power of what we are involved in, the occasion that's taking place. So the Rebbe goes on top of the next page, we still need to understand. Like the Maimer, the Friedrich Rebbe asks, the the core primary thing in this mitzvah meal is to make rejoice the chasna and the kala. The ikar simchahu l'sameach es hachasna v'kala. And the main part of the joy is not my joy, but making the kala rejoice, making the chasna rejoice. So even though we're saying, true, even before the chasna and kala come into the picture, the very fact that Yidden get together is already a reason for joy, and they come together for a mitzvah is a reason for joy. So that's why he says Asher bara sasam v'simcha before saying chasam v'kala, because already by the sasam v'simcha is already there as soon as the crowd gets together for good purposes and so on. But ultimately, why is there this whole Sudas mitzvah? And why is it that we're coming together? Still, we're all here. Why did we gather in the first place? Even though the gathering itself is a reason for rejoicing. We gathered here because of the chasna and kala. So still the question remains about the order in the bracha. Why are you starting off with Habara Sasam v'Simcha? He should have said, Asher bara chasna v'kala, the one who created the chasna and kala, which is the whole reason for the gathering in the first place. Why are we getting together in the first place? Because of the chasna and kala. And then he should have mentioned all the 10 other matters of simcha, that the rest of the 10 things, if you count over there, that he speaks about over there in the pasuk, Sasam v'simcha, Gila, Rina, Ditza, Chedva, Ava, V'achva, Shalom, V'reus, and so you have altogether all these things should be following the whole reason of the get-together. And the Friedrich Rebbe explains concerning this, the Kain Hoya Seida Briyosen. Spiritually, the way Hashem created the whole Seder Ishtalshlus, what came first? The Beseder Isavas Hanevroim Bara Kadosh Baruch Hu Sasam V'Simchat Chila. The way Hashem created the world's first, Sas and Simcha were first on the list of creations. V'achar kachasam v'kala. Only afterwards were the chasna and kala created. How come? Why was it done in such a way? The reason for this is why did Hashem first create joy and happiness, and afterwards he created the chasna and kala? The Maimer explains the Kedei Shachasna v'Kala Yushruyin b'Sasin v'Simcha. So the chasna v'Kala will be in a state of joy and happiness. Perhaps what he's meaning over here is similar to what Chazal say, that why were Adam and Chava created the last of all creations? If the entire creation is for the sake of Adam and Chava, so why did Hashem spend 6 days creating the world, and the last thing, seemingly the most important thing, which should be first, is made last? So the simple explanation that Chazal give, which makes a lot of logic to it, a lot of sense to it, that Hashem prepared everything, and then he brought Adam v'Chava into a ready-made world. He didn't want to bring Adam v'Chava into a desolate place. He made everything already fully functioning. This is, and the mashal is actually from a chasana. It's the Medrash brings a metaphor for this, an example of this about a chasana hall. That first you prepare everything for the chasana and kala. You cook the food, you prepare the hall, everything, and the guests come. Then the last to enter is the chasna and kala. Not because the chasna and kala are least, but so that the chasna and kala should enter a fully ready simcha. So in the same way, the Frierdiker Rebbe explains that first Hashem creates the Shasson and Simcha, so that when the Chassan and Kala appear, they will immediately be entering into a state of rejoicing and happiness. That is the superficial way of looking at this statement, what the Frierdiker Rebbe says. But the Rebbe is going to go and analyze this further and deeper. And the Rebbe is going to say that really there is something over here going on a much deeper, essential level that necessitates that there should be simcha as a prerequisite and as a premise before there can be the Chassan and Kala. So the Rebbe explains, we could say the explanation of this is, why did he need that the Chassan and Kala should be in a state of simcha? And therefore the Eibishter created first Shasson and Simcha and then Chassan and Kala. The inyan Chassan and Kala, who inyan hayichud, the mashpia mekabel. Chassan and Kala is the union of the mashpia, the giver, and the receiver. So they should be able to be the union of the mashpia and the mekabel, which mashpia and mekabel are by their very nature, they're opposites. The giver and the receiver, they might fit in with each other, but the giver is about giving and the receiver is about taking. Giving and taking are two opposite things. So how do they join together? Why, they are simcha. Simcha enables the union of these two opposites. The simcha put together because simcha breaks through boundaries. So even though they are opposites, the simcha causes and allows and helps the union of these two opposites, or enables the union of these two opposites. Therefore, Hashem created first the joy that breaks through the boundaries. And only afterwards does he make the Chassan and Kala mashpia u'mekabel. So that is the reason why it had to be Asher bara Shasson v'simcha, so there should be able to be Chassan and Kala. To be able to have the union of Chassan and Kala, it needs to have the basis, the foundation of Shasson v'simcha that can overcome all barriers and cause them to join. Yes, we could add to this the inyan on nisuyin who gilu koyach ha'insof lamata k'mevur and kam v'koymis. Very famous idea that the Frierdiker Rebbe says in Basel Lagani, the Rebbe repeats this, that marriage is by its very essence a revelation of the power of the infinite aspect of Hashem down here below. Because marriage, the goal of marriage, the purpose of marriage isn't having children. Children are an expression of the infinite in this world. In general, there is nothing infinite in this world, but having children, who in turn have their own children, who in turn have children onward, and there's no stop to this. This is a revelation of the power of the Ein Sof. So by a marriage, it's a revelation of the power of the Ein Sof down here below. Therefore, for the sake of marriage, which is the idea of the revelation of the power of the infinite, we need to initially create Shasson and Simcha that breaks through all the barriers, because that's another barrier to overcome. In addition to overcoming the barrier of the Mashpia and the Mekabel, there are two opposites they should join. There's also the barrier of the infinite coming down here into this world, into this finite world. How can you take the infinite and bring it into the finite world? So it needs to break through barriers as well. And that breaking through barriers is done and assisted through the Simcha. By having Shasson and Simcha, then there can be the Chassan and Kala, the marriage, the revelation of the power of the Ein Sof. So everything has to have its practical avoided type of application. So the Rebbe explains, second paragraph in the page, well, the Vayring is about avoided to explain this in our service of Hashem. What does this mean in how we have to serve Hashem? We have to preface first what was explained previously in a Maimer in Shabbos Parshas Chai Yisora. The Maimer was entitled B'divrei Maskul Yofes Yichos in the Shabbos Parshas Chai Yisora. A Maimer entitled "It's Better to Talk of the Servants of the Forefathers" on Shabbos Parshas Chai Yisora. So over there, it speaks in that Maimer about the famous topic that says B'inyan Yofes Yichos Shel Avdei Avos Miteros Shel Bonim. It says that the talk of the servants of the forefathers are more important and more beautiful than the teachings of the children. And the Gemara explains that when it comes to Torah, when it comes to halacha, and you need to learn out a certain halacha in the Torah is very stingy with words. And the Torah will often derive halachas from the fact that there's just an extra word over here, an extra letter over here, without actually spelling out the halacha and saying, this is to be done or this is not to be done. This is tamei, this is not tamei. But when it comes to the story of Eliezer, not only did the Torah relate the entire event that took place with Eliezer, how he went to get Rivka and how she was standing over there by the well and how he made for himself a sign that whoever will come and offer to my animals to drink. Not only is the Torah going into all the details of that part of the story, but the Torah repeats the entire story when Eliezer relates the story to Besuel and Lavan, instead of just saying, and Eliezer told Besuel and Lavan everything that occurred to him. Could have just shortened it that much. So we see that the Torah values the talk of the servants of the Avos more than the Torah of the children. That many, many ideas in the Torah, many, many halachas in the Torah that were taught to the Bnei Yisrael, to the children, are the Torah uses as few words as possible and completely disguises it until you could barely see the halach over there. And when it comes to the story with Eliezer, it's over the top. So the Maimer of Shabbos Parshas Chai Yisora that year, the Rebbe explained the Mailos Sichos Eliezer, the advantage and quality of the speech of Eliezer, he is Mishum Shesichosoi Hoisa Be'inyan Hashiduch Di Yitzchak Ve'Rivka, because the topic, the subject of his talk was the Shidduch between Yitzchak and Rivka, which is symbolic of the big picture, Yichud Chassan V'Kala, the union of a Chassan and Kala. Shezer Roimez Al Klolos Avodas Adam, the union of a Chassan and Kala is really indicative and corresponds to and hints on the general service of a person. Like it's explained over there in that Maimer, Shebchol Maisa Mitzvah Yesh Yichud Shemashpia Makabel. In every action of a mitzvah that we do, there is a union both of the giver and the receiver. Just like Chassan and Kala is a giver and a receiver, every time we do a mitzvah, there is a mashpia component of the mitzvah and a makabel. Where is it? So the Rebbe is going to enumerate a few expressions of this. The Hinei, the called in the Bavoid the boy, the Shanaf Shal Kis, Pelas Al Nafshat Bamis or Alaguf, Shehem Yikaimus HaMitzvahs. Anything involving Avodas Hashem is involving the Nafshal Kis's influencing the Nefsha Bahamis or the body that they should do the mitzvahs. So that's the union of the mashpia and the makabel, the giver and the receiver. Hanefshal Kis, the godly soul, that's the mashpia. Nefsha Bam is the animal soul, that's the makabel. Oya neshama v'guf, or the neshama and the body. Neshama is mashpia, body is makabel. The Rebbe is going to expand this more, that we have other components in the mitzvahs that indicate mashpia makabel. In a more general sense, the general avodah of a person is to be involved in matters of this world and to transform the world to be a home for the Eibishter. In this home for the Eibishter, forget about the individual mitzvahs, the big picture, the macro, what we're trying to do with this world. There is two ideas. There's the mashpia and the makabel. I'm sure you can guess it on your own. The person that is doing the creating, making the home for the Eibishter down here below, he is the mashpia. He is the influencer. He is the giver. He is the chasna. And the world that is being transformed into a home, וכלה, that the world is the receiver and the world is the kala. The Rebbe adds to this, we can add to this, concerning marriage it says, and they will be as one flesh. What does it mean as one flesh? Rashi explains that through marriage of the chasna and kala, the child is formed, and over there in the child, the chasna and kala, their flesh are one in the child. So too it's in this avoid. Through the union of the mashpia and the makabel, of the person making the dir and the world that's becoming a dir. So through that we are creating a new thing, like the union of a chasna and kala, creating a new being, a child. The child that's being given birth over here is that there's a home now for Hashem down here below. Just like in the forming of a child, the Chazal said there are three partners in a person. There is Hashem, who gives a neshama, and there's the father and the mother. So it's insufficient to have just the giver and the receiver in the physical child. You need to have also a third partner. You need to have, in addition to the chasna and the kala, you need to have Hashem. So the same thing, in the making a home for the Eibishter down below, it's insufficient. The giver and the receiver, also we need the empowerment from Hashem. Shlishi, the third partner, and that's beyond both of them. So the Rebbe is going to say a very interesting thing in where do we see the workings of this in the performance of mitzvahs and so on. Second line from the bottom, we could say, in the person himself that's doing the mitzvah itself, there is also similar to these three things, the mashpia, the makabel, and Hashem that's higher than it. There is the person that is performing the mitzvah. There's the actual doing of a mitzvah. And then there's the object, that with that object the mitzvah is being done. In addition to this, so therefore you have three aspects, you have three components: the person, the activity, and the mitzvah itself. So you have, let's say, you put a mezuzah up on your doorpost. So you have the person that's putting the mezuzah, you have the mezuzah, the action of putting the mezuzah up, and then you have the mezuzah itself, or the doorpost upon which the mezuzah is being placed. Another component of where you have three things coming together, the Rebbe doesn't elaborate on the next one. In addition to this, shekol ha-mitzvahs a machshava dibur ma'isa. All mitzvahs involve thought, speech, and deed. That again, thought is the highest, so it's a mashpia. Speech and deed are the receiver, or thought is the highest, and therefore, because this thought, then the speech and the action come together. Like it's explained in the Torah, how every mitzvah has each component of it. There's the action of the mitzvah when you perform the mitzvah. The speech of the mitzvah is the bracha that you make on the mitzvah. The machshava, for example, is the kavanah, the intention in doing the mitzvah. So now the second paragraph. So now getting back what the Rebbe was trying to explain. What does it mean in our service of Hashem? The creation of joy and happiness. before the creation of the Chassidus and Kala, the Mekivim Shechassidus V'Kala Koyal Klos Avodas Adam HaMashpia Mekabel. Since Chassidus and Kala is referring to the general service of the person, that is the Mashpia, and the Mekabel, the giver and the receiver, and this avodah needs a special empowerment, both because it's opposites, and also, like we said before, the example, that it's not just enough in the creation of a child to have the father and the mother, but you need to have that third party, you need to have Hashem. Therefore, he prefaces to this, to the Chassidus וכלה in the bracha. He says beforehand, Shashon ושמחה. Simcha peretzes is kol hagdar. Simcha breaks through all boundaries and barriers. Va'yada yesh b'koyach ha'adam lifris is kol mechitzes. Ben kol ha'inyan shetzrichim l'sachda avodas. Through that, it comes into the capability of a person to break through all the divisions and separations between all the things that need to be joined together. The person and the mitzvah and the dira and Hashem and the tachtoinim, anything that needs to get through a barrier, the barriers are broken through simcha. Until it all becomes like one flesh, just like the result of marriage is having a child that is now totally joined as one flesh. To such a degree that through joy comes down the revelation of the power of the Ein Sof down here below. That is the content of this bracha and Shava brachas. That he creates joy and happiness. That there's a special quality and advantage in this bracha. Like it's brought down over there in the Maimer of the Frierdiker Rebbe, he brings down from the Zohar, this bracha, that's the seventh bracha of all the seven brachas. That's the final bracha. It's also called bracha achrita. Kaileles is kol brachas. So the Zohar, the Maimer and the Zohar say the seventh bracha is not just number 7, but it includes all the brachas. Kemaimer, like it's the famous statement, kol hashviyim chavivim. All 7s are favorites. Also in this bracha is enumerated and said 10 expressions of joy, like we mentioned before. The idea of the 10 expressions of joy indicates the broadness and the expansion of Mashiach's times. When Mashiach comes, then we will inhabit not just the land of the 7 nations that we were promised, but the further 3 nations of Keni, Knizi, V'Kadmoni that Avram Avinu was told. Like it says, Hashem is Gvulcha, like it says in the laws of Arim Miklat, that when Hashem broadens your boundaries, you will add more Arim Miklat. This 10 expressions of joy is also connected with the 10 utterances with which Hashem created the world and the 10 commandments, that there's an advantage in both 10 utterances, in each one of them, 10 utterances, and Aser Sadibris, each one has an advantage. The Kol Echad Poil B'Zolasi, and each one affects the other, Kimavur B'Maimer Sham, Mi'azoyer Sham, like it's explained over there from the Maimer as it brings from the Zoyer. It says 10 was the measures over there in the holy shekel. Why does it say asara? So it says 10 because it's referring to the 10 utterances and the 10 commandments, and only v'shneim yachad nasim shekel hakodesh. When you have both the 10 utterances and aser sadibris, then it becomes a holy shekel. You need the combination of both, the holiness and the world together. Especially according to the teachings of the Baal Shem Tov. Huvav in his bar was brought down and explained in Tanya in Sharich V'Emunah, where it talks about the creation of the world. The 10 utterances is not just something Hashem said 5,784 years ago, but it's something that's renewed every single moment. The Rebbe concludes with a bracha, v'yiratzin should be the will of Hashem. Through speaking and being involved in these matters in Torah, Yekuyim means that a poil that should be fulfilled in actuality. Because what he does, he tells the Yidden to do. Like it says, he relates his words to Yaakov, his laws and statutes to the Yidden. So therefore it's his laws, meaning it's something that he himself does. Which be fulfilled what it says that he created joy and happiness. There should be a totally new creation of joy and happiness. Which be fulfilled what it says also in that bracha. Speedily Hashem will make it be heard in the cities of Yehuda, in the outskirts of Yerushalayim, kol sasim, kol simcha, a sound of joy and a sound of happiness, kol chasim, kol kala, a sound of chasna and a sound of a kala, in such a way that you will not need to rush out of galus, but rather you will return in a calm way, and an everlasting joy upon their heads. Even though you're not rushing out, you're calm, but you'll still have the alacrity and quickness that comes when a person is happy. They do things in a quick way. Like it says, speedily, we should hear, but take from yad mamish, immediately mamash.